In a tragic turn of events, Betty pushed Mrs. Montgomery into a utility room, her grip on the axe tightening. "You can't have him, you can't have him, I've got to kill you," she uttered in desperation. In the quiet town of Wiley, Texas, where church bells rang on Sunday mornings, the harmony of community life concealed a tale of betrayal, passion, and a gruesome crime that would shock everyone. The story begins with Mrs. Candy Montgomery, a Texas housewife who became infamous for her involvement in a shocking murder case that took place in 1980. Mrs. Candy Montgomery, born November 15, 1949, had always been a respected figure in the local church community, known for her unwavering dedication to her faith and her family. But beneath her pious exterior, a dark secret loomed, threatening to unravel the very fabric of her life. The victim in this case was Betty Gore, a neighbor and close friend of Candy Montgomery. When the police arrived at the scene, they were met with a chilling sight. A bloody shoe print, ominous and conspicuous, marred the otherwise pristine floor of the victim's home. Blood spatters adorned the bathroom wall and gathered in the drain, telling a gruesome tale of violence. The evidence suggested that the killer had taken a moment to wash the blood from their body before vanishing into the shadows. For Collin County investigator Stephen Defebaugh, the presence of a bloody shoe print was a significant clue. It led him to primarily consider female or underage suspects, as it was a detail that would prove crucial in the days to come. As the investigation unfolded, a name surfaced in the shadows of suspicion: Candy Montgomery. She was the last person to be seen with the victim, Betty Gore. Candy found herself in the center of the storm. When the police questioned Candy Montgomery, she maintained her innocence. She claimed to have gone to the Gore house early in the morning to retrieve her daughter Elisa's swimsuit. After accomplishing this seemingly innocent task, she stated that she left to teach her Bible class, leaving no hint of the turmoil that was about to engulf her life. However, as the investigation progressed, the web of deceit grew more tangled. On June 17th, Alan Gore, the husband of the victim, Betty Gore, approached the police with a shocking revelation: his own affair with Candy Montgomery. This revelation was crucial to the investigation. Candy Montgomery's reluctance to take a polygraph test raised suspicions. On June 27, 1980, she was arrested and charged with murder, casting a long shadow over her once quiet life. Jailers at the county detention center couldn't help but notice the telltale signs of a struggle on Montgomery's body. Cuts on her toe and bruises on her head hinted at a violent confrontation. As she changed into her prison uniform, the physical scars were a stark reminder of the turmoil that had unfolded in the Gore household. The courtroom became the stage for a high-stakes legal battle. Candy Montgomery's trial at the Collin County Courthouse began in October, and it lasted for 8 intense days. Defense attorney Dan Crowder argued that Montgomery had killed Betty Gore in self-defense. He painted a picture of a desperate struggle, with Betty wielding the deadly axe after learning of the affair. It was a sweltering June 13th when the storm of fate arrived at the Montgomery doorstep. That day, Mrs. Montgomery found herself sitting in the Gore home, the home of fellow church members and close friends, Betty and Alan Gore. The sun cast long shadows as a heavy silence filled the room. The stifling heat was only surpassed by the palpable tension between the two women. It was during this tense encounter that Mrs. Montgomery finally confessed to what had been hidden beneath the surface: her affair with Alan Gore, Betty's husband. She admitted to the affair as Betty Gore stared at her in disbelief. "But you did have one, didn't you?" Betty uttered the words that hung heavily in the room. Mrs. Montgomery, her voice trembling, responded with a simple, "Yes." Betty, stunned and devastated, left the room briefly, only to return with a chilling 3-foot-long axe in her hand. The air grew thick with the weight of unspoken words and unshed tears. "I don't ever want you to see him again. You can't have him," Betty declared, her voice laced with a mixture of anger and despair. Mrs. Montgomery, trying to defuse the situation, reasoned, "Betty, don't be ridiculous. It was over a long time ago." She hoped her words would quell the storm that had been unleashed. As a mother of 2 young children, Mrs. Montgomery felt the gravity of the situation. The emotional confrontation was taking a toll on both women who had once been friends. She rose to leave, believing that the worst had passed. But Betty wasn't ready to let go. "I don't want you to ever look at me again," she implored, tears in her eyes. In a tragic turn of events, Betty pushed Mrs. Montgomery into a utility room, her grip on the axe tightening. "You can't have him, you can't have him, I've got to kill you," she uttered in desperation. A brutal struggle ensued. The axe came down, drawing blood as it grazed Mrs. Montgomery's head. The room bore witness to a fierce battle between the two women, their lives irrevocably entwined by secrets and betrayal. Betty raised the axe once more, but Mrs. Montgomery managed to evade the deadly blow. Desperation and fear filled the room as the struggle intensified. The axe changed hands, and blows were exchanged, leaving both women battered and stunned. "I thought I killed her," Mrs. Montgomery recalled, her voice quivering with emotion. But the story didn't end there. Betty, despite her injuries, refused to let Mrs. Montgomery escape. She slammed the door, blocking any chance of retreat, and reached for the axe once more. Desperation and fear now gripped both women. A second struggle for the axe unfolded, the room stained with blood, evidence of the physical and emotional wounds they had inflicted on each other. Betty's hands slipped, and in a final heart-wrenching moment, she fell backward. "I didn't think," Mrs. Montgomery testified, her voice choked with tears. "I didn't think at all. I raised it, and I hit her, and I hit her, and I hit her." She hit Gore 41 times, primarily in the face. Her torso, arms, and legs were equally mutilated. Montgomery then returned home as if nothing had happened, leaving Gore's newborn asleep in the crib upstairs. But the most shocking testimony came from Houston psychiatrist Dr. Fred Faison. He claimed that Montgomery had blacked out during the murder, driven by deep-seated childhood trauma. Under hypnosis before the trial, Montgomery recollected a haunting memory from her past, her mother hushing her as a child, the same gesture she had made to Betty as she died. On the witness stand, the truth spilled forth from Montgomery's lips in a haunting confession. "I hit her. I hit her. I hit her." The prosecution, on the other hand, presented evidence to suggest premeditation. They argued that the murder was not an act of self-defense but a calculated act of violence, given the fact that Candy had brought an axe with her to Betty's house. The state concluded its case with a chilling testimony from a crime analyst who described Betty Gore's death as a case of overkill. Dr. Irving Stone's words hung heavily in the courtroom, a grim reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded in the heart of their peaceful community. The courtroom was a cauldron of tension as the jury, composed of 9 women and 3 men, deliberated for 3 agonizing hours. Finally, on October 30th, 1989, the verdict was delivered. Candy Montgomery stood before the eyes of justice, accused of a heinous crime. The jury's decision was clear and unequivocal, not guilty. But amidst the darkness and tragedy, one question still lingered. Was it an act of self-defense or a crime born of desperation? The courtroom held its breath as the truth remained shrouded in uncertainty. To this day, the Candy Montgomery murder trial remains a prominent and controversial case in the journals of American criminal justice. The Montgomerys, forever scarred by the events that had unfolded, decided to move far away, leaving behind the ghosts of the past. But even distance couldn't heal the wounds, and they eventually divorced 4 years later. Today, Candy Montgomery, the woman at the heart of a gripping tale of love, betrayal, and murder, resides in Georgia as a certified therapist and family counselor. Living as a free woman. The echoes of that fateful day still resonate, forever etched into the history of a quiet Texas town.